And we're live. Lakers Farm Coffee Podcast presents Coffee Chat with Eli and Ashley. We'll be talking about our week's night. Last picking was dried and weighed today, and we're about to start cupping.
And sort of what drying and weighing. Well, I'll tell you what, this is Eli, my son. He does a lot of intros and he does a lot of the camera work behind the scenes that nobody sees. But we have dried the coffee and weighed it. And so the next thing we do is that starts the calendar, so to speak. Our coffee is going to be at least aged for 60 days. After the 60 days, we're going to start hand selecting it. The first step is we take it to the Trigadora, which is a dehuller, and they take the husk off, and then it comes into this building, which next week we'll give a better tour because it won't be junk piled up. Once it's in this building, the women start hand selecting all the beans. Beans go two different directions. One of them goes to what's called Wakuko. That's this type of coffee. It's generally a lower grade, but ours commands a little bit better because we're really picky on the coffee beans we select out. So we're putting a lot of beans that normally most farmers would ship to the United States. And so our coffee is pretty sought after for we sell it for right now. It hit $2 and a nickel a pound. It's what we sell it for now. So it's been $1.35 for a long time, but prices are going up. So the Wakuko goes up, but it's the defects that we select out. It's the broken beans, things like that. And that's sold locally, and that's the traditional coffee of the 100 people, or I would say the people of any foreign country that does coffee, because that's sort of what they get is the lower end of the coffee. So part of their tradition is a couple of sugars and a coffee and some sweet bread. So the coffee still tastes pretty good.
Sure, that's just not your tradition.
No, that's theirs. I don't put sugar in my coffee unless I have to.
Bread.
I am definitely a bread guy. Today is Bimbo, pasas and canela, which is cinnamon and raisins. So that's one of the things I love. So we pick the coffee. From the picking, it gets weighed, gets processed, and then it goes out to our farm in Llano, which is our drying field. And that's where we dry it down to 12.5 to 13.1%. But if some of you guys were watching the last couple of weeks, the record down there was 109 degrees. At that same time, it was like 7 degrees here on the farm. The farm is 7.2 miles from the house as you would drive it on a road, not as the crow flies. It's quite a bit lower. It's probably about 2,000 to 2,200 feet lower than here. But we get pure sunshine. The mountains sort of knock away a lot of the clouds. And so it just gets hot down there. There's a breeze, but the breeze is hot. So coffee dries really well in that area. And there's a couple other farms that dry down there as well.
And there is a small village down there too that dries corn.
Yeah, there's a small village of indigenous people that they say they've lived there for over 2,000 years.
A long time.
So a long time to live there. Some really old folks. But we dry it to that 13.1% humidity. And by the time we get it in the truck, it's at about 12.5. And then we bring it to the barn, bodega. We open the bags and let that heat out. We turn the dehumidifier down to like constant operation because a lot of humidity is going to come in. It'll get it up to 80, 85% humidity if you open 50 bags of coffee that's 100 degrees. So it starts cooling down. Then we run the moisture checks again, and usually it levels out at about 12.5%. One of the reasons we weigh it in, we weigh the coffee in cherry, and then we weigh it again once it's dried to 12.5%. We're going to weigh it again when it comes in the room after they've taken the husk off of it, and then we're going to weigh it yet again after it's been selected. So then we'll weigh the defects and we'll weigh the good beans. And so we want to try to keep up with those ratios. Each coffee is different. We have less weight loss on the washed, a little more on the honey, and like 45% on the naturals. So we track all of that. One thing is curiosity, but another thing is when it's time to, when I get my count in for the day of how many pounds of the coffee and the cherry that they picked, then I'm able to forecast how many bags, exportable bags of coffee that we're going to have. And at this point, we're at 97 bags. Last year at this time, we were at 132. So we're pretty far behind on coffee, and we lost a lot of coffee on the ground. Yeah, the moisture is just insane. I'll finish my sentence. Yeah, we lost a lot of coffee, so we're looking at 35-40% crop loss for the year.
Okay, so the other day, it was like what, 2 weeks ago or something?
Okay.
Whenever it was 109 degrees in
Oh, okay.
Yano.
Yeah.
We went down to Yano, and what was the coffee at? Like 18 or something?
There was one that was above the limit. There was a couple of 18s. And it was just.
We waited there for what, 3 hours
Mhm.
in over 100-degree temperature, and it got down to what,
15.
15, and then there was a bunch of clouds coming in, and all the moisture.
Just started
Where is
coming
it?
back in. So we just backed up, went home.
And
And we
then
did get a good nap.
yeah, and then there was one the other day that just went down like crazy.
Yeah, we had a couple the other day that just started going down. There was one light that was at 19% when I got there. We were there a little over 2 hours. And the day before, there was a coffee at 15, and that's the one I was checking on. We waited about 30 minutes, and all of a sudden it was 13.5. So we have these big pieces of plastic out there that are weighed down with rocks so the wind doesn't blow it. So I yell at Pedro, start pulling the rocks, get the bags ready. So we start marking all the bags, get everything laid out. And within 5 minutes, it was at 13.1. So we start raking it up like crazy. And as soon as there was like 14 bags in that lot. As soon as we got it, the lot that was like 16.5% was at 12.5. And it was 4 lots in a row that just as soon as we could get one done, the other one was done. And Pedro was calling the neighbors to come help.
Yeah, there doesn't really seem to be an exact science on how coffee dries.
And
Found that out, that would be great to know.
Well, and when we got there, the lots ranged from 19% to 15%.
And they were all done in the span of what?
They were all done just back to back. And so that moisture just sort of levels out at some point. Once it gets below 20, they start leveling out. But it's just crazy. It's how thick the coffee was on the plastic. There's a lot of different factors, probably how new the plastic is. It's shinier when it's new. Yeah, I don't know. And then some of it is the washed coffees versus the honey process. The washed coffees are always going to dry a little faster. But we had this anaerobic coffee that we did this year. I think, I'm not sure if it's a Marciesa or a Perineo, but we did 1,200 pounds of cherry, which I guess is that would be a bag of exportable coffee, 150-pound bag of exportable coffee. We did it in the anaerobic fermentation. We fermented it for 72 hours.
Man, it smelled interesting.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
Yeah, because the layman would walk up and not be able to tell you that they would say that wouldn't be good coffee. But the guys were smelling it and they were like, oh, it's Welly Rico. It's this really rich smell. And I was like, not really. But by the time it was on the field a day, then it started smelling like normal coffee. It was just a lot of gas that's trapped inside that barrel that was being released.
How much do we have?
It's 1,200 pounds, but I haven't checked the numbers of what they weighed it in dry parchment coffee. But we'll track that lot really closely, just because
Are we
you
going to
never
be
know.
selling it or doing like a reward thing, or what are we thinking?
We'll do a giveaway with like 10 or 20 pounds, something like that. It's according because the coffee could suck. If the coffee sucks, then
then we may just still give it away. Just.
I had a bag the other day. It was the 74-point coffee, which is better than you're going to get in most grocery stores. And I just did not like it at all. And then I flavored it to make me crazy and all that. So I gave it away to Corey the other day. He came by, Jonathan, and said it was about 70 pounds and just let him have it. He was trying to season a roaster. And so
Creamer does go a long way.
There wasn't enough creamer for that one. I just didn't like it. There was something I couldn't put my finger on. Something off-putting about the
Or
coffee.
maybe you just have way too much of a, I don't know, sensitive palate for coffee.
Could be. Tonight I'm drinking a stolen washed berry Nema,
But
the coffee that Alexander and Anna traded for.
mhm.
They were drying it in my field. And so my charge for drying it was I just raked me up a bag of it. And hey, when nobody's looking, grab a bag of coffee. Anna was in here this morning and I said, I'm going to have some Anna Cafe. She said, oh, the new lot, the Anna Cafe Catorce. It's a new variety. Anna Cafe 14 that we have. It's a new variety. And I said, no, this is your coffee. Said you left it in my field, and so I took it.
Well, let's just hope we don't get arrested now.
It is good. I'm going to do my best to buy it. I think it's going to score. It's going to be an 86 coffee.
And you'll keep it all for yourself?
I'm going to sell it all to Ben or whoever wants to buy me, Bill, and
Whoever gives you the most money.
Ben, and I forget what his brother is, or Bill.
Brian?
Ben and Brian, they're still buying a little bit. Bill make a good coffee for him, but they're really bigger beans than.
But they are Marciesa.
No, they're Paranama.
They're Paranama.
Anna bought it from her neighbor. So yeah, I've been tickled with it. This is the last of the pound that I stole. So I've been drinking it 2 or 3 times a day. I don't have my glasses.
Oh, well, I think we'll get some back soon. I do like the idea of auctioning it off, though. How much is it? I mean, how much do we have?
Of that one?
Yeah, if you buy it.
1,000 pounds.
I don't know if we'll need auction.
Yeah,
but it would be a good idea. Auction off the first pound?
Yeah, we might do something like that.
Bidding starts at 1 cent.
And we do have, I don't remember how much I bought. I think it was 1,200 pounds or forget what it was. But I had to pay a huge price this year for coffee because the coffee prices are just ridiculous.
Yeah, they are.
I just went and sold some of my coffee. And
or
what I don't say. Yeah.
It was just regular coffee, or what was it? Was it special?
No, it was just our first picking that we generally don't export, and I wasn't here, so they took it in. And it offsets my fertilizer bill. But we're having to pay so much money to pick this year. It's just ridiculous.
And fertilizer prices also gone up.
Yeah, fertilizer prices are starting to go up again. But if Putin's calms it down, then we'll be able to get some fertilizer from Mo Pooty again. But I shouldn't say that because he knows jiu-jitsu. He might come get me. But we did buy some from this guy named Santiago. Yeah,
I think some 86 coffee is good wherever you get it, but I'd say ours is pretty good.
Yeah, I was talking to a guy today, and he said he never gives the score of his coffee because if you were in high school or college and you told mom, "Oh, I made an 85," she's like, "Well, go to your room and study." And an 85 in coffee is good.
Yeah, wait, an 85 is bad?
Yeah. You make way better grades than that because the principal changes the numbers for it. But no, 85 is, I don't know, is that a C or something? I'm not sure. I never made many of them. But
it doesn't sound like a good thing.
No, I've made a lot of D's.
I feel like 85's got to be at least a B. A plus has got to be 100.
I'm not sure. Some of you smart guys can let us know what the grade points are. But no, he did just for that reason. He said, I put down all the flavor profiles, but he said, I don't put in the hints of something because a lot of the customers will say, oh, I didn't find that or I didn't know that.
Well, maybe you should go to school for a couple of years and drink coffee.
Just to cut the confusion down. He said, I put the base flavors in there and nothing more because people think an 84 coffee is just a fair coffee. It's a good coffee because you get the 94, you can't afford to drink the stuff.
And our highest ever score was what?
Oh, the what now?
Highest cupping score in the entire farm was?
So far, I got an unofficial 90, but I got an 89.25. was our highest score. But then we've had quite a lot of consistent 87s and 88s.
Yeah, 90 plus coffees.
Somebody was asking about cost on the farm. I think I've covered the first couple questions. Costs on the farm are ridiculous. Eli and I went and visited a mill today, and there was a couple of big farmers there that produce like containers and containers and containers of coffee.
Simply,
And they were talking about the day labor costs were double from what they were last year. And I did my math last night. Yeah, this is my last note. We're paying 40% higher wages for pickers, and we're paying 30% higher wages for labor. But we already paid better labor than they did, so their prices have doubled from what they were doing last year.
There's another question. Have you ever tried?
Their solution to the problem of that was they're going to start hauling coffee in a dump truck instead of bags. And so they'll be able to fire 6 guys that used to like unload the bags. And then they're going to buy a giant set of scales that dump truck, like a double screw dump truck, can dump into.
I don't feel like that's a good solution.
Well, it's a good solution for them because they don't care about the workers.
True, but I'm saying, is that really worth it? Like, if they're going to save enough money to buy a dump truck and a giant scale?
They already have all that stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's a good solution.
Forget where we were. Don't say where we were out loud because he might be watching. But
anyway, there was another question.
You read it, I'll drink.
Did you ever try the Simply Good coffee brewer, or have you come across any cool new equipment?
No, but we're slowly setting up the website because this next by June we're going to have our first roaster come off the assembly line, and so we're going to start building roasters slow in the beginning, but we're going to start selling the Barraza grinder. When we sell the roaster, it's going to come with a combo. It'll have 2 commercial Barraza grinders that come with it, and then we're going to start offering the Simply Good coffee brewers online. We tried it when we were at an expo, the last expo Eli and I were at together. We tried the Simply Good brewer. They were doing coffee, and it seems like a really good brewer.
Are we going back to that expo this year?
They've invited us, but they haven't said when. So, and I guess he just does it every other year.
Okay, so maybe.
But we're on his website.
So
if you go to the Coffee Con website, you'll see the LF Mission or LF Farms logo on there. And I got to break out my glasses for you.
No. No, this is when we went. It was like what? When did we go? 2023 or what?
Yeah, we went in 2023, and so I guess it'll be this October. And so somewhere around there. So yeah, it's coming up.
Are they going back to Chicago, or are they going?
I think it'll be in Chicago. Well, the one I told him I wanted to go to was New York. But he said if I got my book ready in time, that it would be better to do my book in New York.
How is the book looking?
It's awful. I agree. Like 2 months. It's going to be Accidental Coffee Farmer is going to be the name of it. Eli's going to write an excerpt in it, and some of the workers here are I'm going to start working on them here pretty quick to write down just a little short story so we can get it translated and get it in the book. I think we talked to Kevin about doing the forward for it. Kevin Sinnott, he's written a couple coffee books, so don't hold me to that. But we talked about it, but he's never given me 100% on it, but I feel like he will. And so it'll be interesting. I'm going to try to get a few things from my customers and a few things like that to go in the book.
In the current harvest, we have finished our first.
What would have been our second picking is finished, but because there were so few workers, our first picking ran all the way into the time frame of the second.
So now so on Monday, this Monday, we're starting our.
What would be the third picking? Yeah, and there will be a fourth picking.
You think so? It's going to go on that long?
Well, Eli and I are having to extend our trip quite a bit.
Like how much?
So boohoo, like 3 months, something like that.
That's a little too much.
We have the opportunity, like the harvest ended last Thursday, and then the coffee came off Monday morning or Monday afternoon.
From where?
From Yano.
That was Wednesday. Tuesday. Okay.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday, the coffee came off the drying field. So at that point, I'm not having to drive to Yano every day.
Just
So,
nice.
so that's when I got to go my second trip. If nobody's seen it, you haven't been paying attention. The second trip to the DMV, the first trip was 7 hours. The second one was 12. So don't be whining to me about, oh, I went to the DMV and it took an hour and a half. 12 hours. I left my driveway at 4:02 in the morning, and I pulled back in my driveway at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So it was a 3.5 hour drive to get to the DMV, and I got 2 of my 4 driver's license that I'm going to eventually have.
Which are what? Your
motorcycle and truck and car.
No, I don't have a motorcycle.
But my four-wheeler, you can. I've got license plates on my four-wheeler, and so I can drive my four-wheeler on the road.
Wait, so motorcycle and four-wheeler are classed in the same?
They're classed in the same. So the next license I'll go get, I'll have to go to school for 4 days in to learn for my big truck license.
You think you're gonna go to 4 days for that?
Yeah.
You need 4 days for a motorcycle.
Should, yeah. But I did it in a couple hours. So, but I went and there was a whole lot of paperwork, and they couldn't find my, some of my paperwork, and
First
so
time none of your information was on the system.
Well, it was the first office we went to. They showed my motorcycle license and all, and they were just going to renew it. And they said, we'll go over to this office. So I went to that office, and then she couldn't find it. And then we went back to the first office. She couldn't find it. And so
to the bank? What?
Oh, then the bank, you have to pay your fees at the bank because the DMV doesn't handle money. And so we paid our little fees at the bank, and then they were like, oh, they should have told you your first time is only 2 years and your next time could be 5. But they sold me a 5-year, but then it didn't get entered into their computer also. So I ended up not getting my license that day. And I was sitting in front of the machine. They'd already taken my picture where it spits the little license out. So I could just push that button and spit my license out. And then I went home. And then I drove the next DMV, of course, was 3.5 hour drive.
Yeah, of course, because that makes complete sense.
And then apparently the class starts at 7, and I got there at 7:30. And so the guy let me in, but then we had to pay a couple people just to do their job, and so it cost a few dollars to get it done. But it was just weird stuff. Like they were going to make me do a physical car driving thing, and they said, well, no, there's an exemption, and so, but then they didn't want to do the exemptions. They're like, well, we gave them $50, and they did an exemption. So then, because the biggest problem was I didn't have a motorcycle to drive.
Yeah.
When I first took my motorcycle license, I brought my four-wheeler all the way to the Comiago.
Really? I don't remember.
Yeah, I had to hire a guy to sit on the four-wheeler while I was in the DMV, so I didn't steal the four-wheeler. And so this time they said, no, you don't have to drive. So I brought my motorcycle, and I didn't bring a motorcycle, and I did need to drive. So I'm like, well, so it was a long day, but everything worked out great. I got my driver's license.
Sounds like a typical DMV experience, though.
Yeah. And so here it was just a lot more fun. And but I got my license now, so I'm gonna be driving the four-wheeler. We have another coffee farm. It's about 5 miles from here. It's just really handy to be able to get through.
Also, it's fun to go into that.
Yeah, and we drive in the farm constantly on it, and so it's just a really practical tool to have on the farm.
Yeah. We also had another question. Are we expecting a high yield harvest this year?
We do have a high yield harvest, but the problem is nobody was picking it, so a lot of it fell off during the rainy season. And so there's quite a bit on the ground that we'll probably never go back and pick up. The best way to do that is just to give it away. But with the prices hanging like they are, they started dropping. So our market will drop before yours does. So the market just dropped today. And so that's why Eli and I ran to town to sell the coffee.
Yeah. Price.
Yeah, because it started out. I mean, it's 40-something% higher than what it started out the year out with.
Yeah.
So
a pretty good year.
Yeah, and so I had 7,500 pounds. Is that right? Yeah, it's 7,500 pounds of coffee that was picked when the weather was bad. Nobody here drives but me. I was in the States, and so we weren't able to process that coffee. Um, and so we had some workers here then, so they went ahead and started. They did the early picking. 7,500 sounds like a lot, but it's not a lot of coffee. And a lot of that coffee wouldn't have probably made the grade. Your first cut's usually not the best. So from that 7,500 pounds, we've been watching the market, and once it hit 1,020, I said, it was just moving up too fast. I said, there's no way it won't hit 1,200. And so last week it hit 1,240, and we were going to go sell it, and then something came up, and we had a nightmare guest one day, and then so I hope he's listening. No, it's all really because sometimes nightmare guests don't realize they're nightmare guests, but
I don't think he realized.
So today we went in to sell it, and he said the price dropped, and so he said so many people have been selling it. He said we're out of money, and Parental didn't run today, or Protectile, whatever it is, like the armored car comes by his place every day and drops off money. Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
I mean, this is a big buyer, and so they drop by his place every day.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. Yeah.
I'm glad to be there when they do.
Yeah, I asked him if he had change for 100 one day. He just looked at me. No smile, nothing. He's like, stupid North Americans. So, but so yeah, the price is starting to drop a little bit. So he didn't have the money. He said, "Well, I'll lock your pricing," but we're trying to buy a truck from him. And
you want to buy it?
I want to buy it. Eli doesn't want to buy it. Nobody else wants to buy it. It's a 1988 Mitsubishi Mighty Max 4-wheel drive. But we found out today the transfer case doesn't work, but it's still a 4-wheel drive that needs repair.
Also, the entire back is ruined. Everything about on it, aside from the engine, is bad.
You could loan it to a friend. He rolls it over, brings it back, puts a little coolant in it. You're good to go.
Yeah, you wouldn't know the difference either.
But it's never been rolled, but it's been used all its life. And what I want to do is teach the new guy, Miguel. He can drive a motorcycle. So if you sort of got that clutch thing down pat with a motorcycle, I think he can move over easily into the truck. And it's super small little truck. If you look up Mighty Max, Mitsubishi, it's an 88 model. So it's just a real small truck, but it could carry 1,000 pounds. I'm going to build a bed for it. Because the bed's fairly rusty.
How long does it carry 1,000 pounds? Like how many?
Well, I mean, it gets 1,000 pounds. Our biggest thing they'll use it for would be to take fertilizer into the farm. And so, but even if it would take 1,000 pounds out of the farm, that would be a big help. On days that I'm having to bring out 10,000 pounds.
Yeah.
He can make 2 trips. And but it's a mechanically driven injector pump on a little diesel engine. So there's no electronics on it. It's just a cool little truck.
Bring your own radio when you're in it.
Yeah, bring your own radio, and if the window rolls down, that's your air conditioning.
I have to do those the windows from the old cars.
That has a little vent thing.
Yeah,
I wonder if it's got one of those. But I mean, it's a cute little truck. It needs $1,000 worth of work on it, $500 worth of work, something like that. But he said they started it up the other day and pulled it out and backed it in. It's hit something. The grill's gone. So we have to fab a new grill and
make an entirely new bed.
I'm excited about that. That's going to be a fun project.
Yeah.
And so I'll spend a week and build a truck bed and rebuild the front end of that truck and get everything right on it. It'll be fun.
Well, at least it's not as bad as that dump truck we thought it.
Yeah. One of Herbert's trucks, the guy, one of his workers rolled it. Now I'm gonna put me a 4-inch stack on that diesel. Man, I'm gonna have it rumbling going down the farm.
I thought our car was already loud enough.
I'm gonna freehand some flames on the side of it. But no, the muffler broke on the Toyota 4Runner the other day, and I picked Julia up at the airport and him, and so it was pretty loud. So we got that fixed today. But
didn't even notice.
Yeah, well, I haven't gone to get through it.
Oh no, I meant like when we were driving back. Didn't even notice it's louder.
Well, I rolled the windows up on the way back. But, yes, this is actually a coffee podcast, even though we haven't talked about coffee in 10 minutes.
I highly doubt we talk about plenty of coffee stuff.
But that giant bag that I showed you wasn't really the actual bag. Although also this is for 3 years in a row, the Marciesa M4M has been our highest score. And this year I made a mistake and I processed it washed. So this is M4L.
Nice job.
I was going to keep the superstition going, but those are 2-pound bags. Grab one off the table. And I think that's right. Yeah, it's a 2-pound bag. And so this is parchment coffee. And then behind us is this little box. It's a Trigadora. It's a hauler. So that's what it looks like after Anna has hand selected it. So it loses a whole lot of mass and weight.
But then you can also see why it's called kind of green coffee, because there's a greenish blue hue to it.
Yeah.
There is still some, you also see some discoloration in some of the beans, maybe. And so it hasn't been hand selected yet. But
Well, you don't think it has?
no,
No. It's still got some mush. So there'll be a few less beans in it, but she'll weigh that. She'll weigh the parchment exactly. And then after she triggers it, which is dehulling it, then she'll, there's not any defects out, I don't think. Yeah, I don't know how well you can see that, but it's just some ugly, it's like black beans, things like that. But she'll weigh the sample, then she'll weigh the sample after it's been dehulled, and then she'll weigh the sample and the defects afterwards. And so that's going to give her a weight on exactly what the.
And then once she's selected it, it'll look more like this, nice and clean.
Cleaner. But if you can get a coffee where that appearance of that light blue, you can see that bluish hue in it, that is a really higher level coffee. That's always a really great coffee. And so that's what we aspire to. But so she's pulling these 2-pound samples. We save about $5 per sample if we'll select it here instead of them selecting it. So that's what Anna's doing. I think there was 28 samples that have a resting time of more than 30 days. So once they pass that 30-day mark, then she pulls the samples and selects them, and then I'll take them into the cupper, and we'll get our first official cupping scores on it. And that lets us go ahead in a couple of weeks. The bodega's got to be rotated so that the coffee that's on the top goes to the bottom, the middle goes to the top, and then the bottom goes to the middle, something like that. So we have to rotate the coffee 3 times during its cycle here. And so during that time, some of those lots that have been cupped will match the cupping scores within a half a point. So if you've got an 84.5 and an 85, the coffee becomes an 84.5 or 84. They let us do an 84.75. We can average the 2 lots together. And then we'll pick out the dominant flavors in those 2 lots, and that's what the cupping will be. As long as everything's close. If the flavors are off, if there's like a citrus in one and a caramel in the other, then we won't combine lots like that. They have to be nearly identical and a half a point apart before I'll do it.
Yeah, I just have one question. Why not? I mean, it might be kind of interesting.
The caramel will cover up the citrus every time.
Huh.
And you often don't eat a caramel chew and an orange. Those 2 things, may not work.
Chocolate and citrus might be good though.
But you never know.
True.
And
a lot of people like orange flavored chocolate.
But a lot of people are wanting those light citrus notes in their coffee. And the more we cover it up, the less desirable that coffee is.
True.
And there's going to be plenty of Lempira lots that are chocolate caramel with nutty finish, with those characteristics that we're able to mix together.
That's kind of like chocolate and caramel and nutty is something that occurs here a lot, seems like.
The nutty not as much, but the base coffees, the base Lempira washed coffees have that general profile. Now when we start honey processing those Lempiras, we start throwing a lot of fruit. Yeah.
And naturally, usually it's something crazy like cocoa and blackberry.
Our Lempira natural has been just off the charts, having really good flavor.
And then a couple of years ago, we had a Marciesa that was like grapefruit and baked bread or something.
No, the Marciesa washed. It was baked bread and something else. But then the honey process had that fruit. And then there was one that the M5N, the natural process Marciesa, had the mango in it.
Ooh, I didn't actually even know about that.
It sold out while we were on the podcast one night.
Oh, that was the one that sold out?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I remember that one. I didn't realize mango.
Well, yeah. But we did have a really good crop this year. We put a lot of investment in fertilizing, and we did two extra organic sprayings, and we did a really heavy organic fertilizing this year with like compost. But the coffee was there, but then the workers weren't. And so as far as we know, there haven't been any immigrants shipped back to Honduras. I got a call into Trumpy. I told him to send them here first. I'd meet them at the airport. Just unload them straight into my truck, brother.
You just say he has no idea anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Also, how would you get his phone number?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. He changes. He blocked me. Oh my goodness. Well, there's no questions for right now.
Oh, do we make some more Marciesa Natural this year?
The natural is the last coffee that we process in the year. The later it goes in the year, the drier it is and the hotter it is.
We are heading into like the dry season.
Right. We're heading in that dry season, with the exception of that little flash flood we had while we were at the mill. So we were out there raking coffee out. Just it started raining, everybody started running out to the patio.
It rained for what, like 7 minutes?
Yeah, but that coffee was 15 if it was anything.
That was just crazy. Just all of a sudden started raining. And
the guy who runs a mill with tens of thousands of bags couldn't find a bag. He was running around like a chicken's head.
That was hilarious. I had to get some from I found some lying in the corner.
Eli was going to run the truck, and then he saw some at the window blowing in the corner. He goes over. But we are starting to pick. We have one group of workers that we're paying double than what we were paying last year to pick. You keep eyeballing my roll there, boy. You watch yourself. They pick just a beautiful coffee. And so we're moving them to just picking the Marciesa and the Veronema. Bill, if you're still on, San Diego came out about 3 weeks ago, and we bought his coffee. So
the border's closed now, and a lot of people are turning around before they're getting to southern Mexico. That's good.
Well, give my number.
Well, you'd send back the people that came from here. That'd be nice.
Because the people from Guatemala and Salvador can just come here. It'd be a lot shorter trip.
It's true, man.
We got beans and rice here, man. That's what we have for supper tonight.
Beans and rice.
Well, I don't want to make fun of it. I sure order. We're here, and we're here instead of being in North America, because we have a passion to help the people. But it's been so destructive what we've seen from the immigration.
Look at that. They mentioned Honduras specifically. Well, that's great.
Cool. It's like we're next, or
or 17th.
Did they say anything about legacy farms?
That'd be crazy.
We're building a runway out here.
We can cut down a bunch of coffee.
Yeah, I'll cut down a few plants for land the big plains. Or parachute them in.
Yeah, that sounds
We'll go pick them up on the 4-wheeler. I got my driver's license now. This year, one of the plans is we're building a barracks.
Down in the farm.
In the farm that's going to hold 18 people. We're going to have a pavilion where they'll sit and eat, and
kitchen.
The kitchen will be up here to begin with, but down there will be 18 beds, and they'll have a pavilion, and there'll be 2 bathrooms and 2 showers. Everybody thought it was funny, but who are we looking for? We're looking for 20-year-old men, and so we're going to run Wi-Fi down there and have a TV.
What's even more funny is that they get a TV before we do. That's great.
Yeah, we don't have a TV, so we can't even give them ours to buy a new one. But
let's buy one right now.
There you go. Let's buy one quick. But that's one thing. The thing that we started on today, I'm most excited about. We're going to have our state's probably first daycare.
Like Farms Coffee Daycare.
It's going to be LFC Daycare. Because daycare, man. we're going to have,
Oh my goodness, that was a horrible pun.
we got about 12 women that work here. And a lot of them, like 3 of them, were pregnant last year. And so they worked a little bit and then they're gone.
Oh, guess what happened?
And so this year they still got small babies. And so, and another one's pregnant again. So we're going to, eventually this will become another barracks for when North Americans stay.
Yeah.
But today we start, it used to be our drying house. We're started taking the beds out today. And we're going to build a wall in there. And Eli and I finished the wire. The wiring is pretty much finished. It all works. We just got to attach it. But there's going to be 10. It'll be big enough for 10 kids. There'll be beds where 6 people can take naps. So they'll rotate naps. The moms that work here selecting, each one's going to take a week off selecting because they get paid by the day because we don't want to rush them. We want them to do a good job. So every week, a different woman will run the daycare. And then take care of the kids, and then the moms can still work. And then they get breaks if they need to, breastfeed, feed, or change diapers or whatever. So, because I ain't changing no diapers. That gecko is big, man. He's up there.
Bird. Okay.
No, that's a gecko.
What?
Yeah, I just saw the bag moved a minute ago. He's climbing. He likes to climb on those burlap sacks.
Huh.
Yeah, not that you guys drink my coffee like when you're here necessarily. So I'll tell you the story. I've got a GH2 or GH3 grinder over here.
I don't.
And I opened I reached up to open the lid and the lid was already open. So I dumped my 40 grams of coffee in and the gecko came running out. So he was
Ruined his home.
Yeah, we ruined his little hopper home there. But
At least it didn't grind him up.
moral of the story is close the lid. All right.
That's the moral of the story.
Well, I am the worst at staying on topic. Used trucks, geckos, and Donald Trump. And then we talked a little bit about coffee.
We talked much about coffee.
We're starting Monday. We'll be doing our big picking, and so we've actually been giving away coffee plants. We gave some to Pedro today in Pavas, and just helping him, out so that he'll help us gather workers. Tomorrow they're coming to get 900 plants from that Portillo Norte that I've been going to. And it's an awful road. If the weather's bad at all, I can't get there.
What about Portillo East?
There's not one. So, but I'll start going up there Monday. And so the deal is the plants are 4 lempira each, and they pay for it at the end of harvest, unless 80% of the group picks the whole season. And then I give them the plants for free.
It's a pretty good deal.
It's a really good deal. Yeah.
What if they pick the entire harvest?
If they pick the entire harvest, that's just a bonus for us. And they get paid to pick. So,
yeah, I guess it's good.
But, yeah, we're trying to get people to come and stay. And so that these are plants. We've got about 5,000 plants extra this year. So we'll give them all away. And that's probably about $1,500 worth of plants that we just give away. And we give away 1,000 or 2 every year. But this year just gave away a lot more. I think I got to the end of my list.
We have the same list, so yeah.
We covered we'll mix some lots, a couple pound samples. I think you got everything on yours right off the get-go.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, if anybody's got any questions, I'm going to be, we're going to do a quick workout and then I'll answer questions after we go work out. We'll have to do a little, couple pictures of our gym that we built. It's pretty high tech, just like Gold's almost.
Yeah, really
Gold's gym.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of times you don't know stuff on school.
Well, yeah, if Goals has weights built out of concrete, then yes.
Man, I've been trying to find, there's 2 SL varieties that I've been trying to get. There's a 28, and I think there's a 14 or something. It's just a variety. It's like most people think Noventa is a word, but it's actually E-Cafe Noventa. So it's the number 90.
Huh.
It's the production number of the coffee. Noventa is a variety, but it's actually a number. But SL28, I've got a book that I picked like 20 varieties that I'm looking for. The problem is when people have it, they won't let you have it. There's a variety called Obata, and I don't know what the spelling is, but it's Obata. It's a variety. been trying for years to get it. I may because I want to plant some of the farm, but I just found 3 quintal of it today in parchment.
Where do you think you can buy it?
It's from Herbert.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What
So,
is it dried for seed or dried for
no,
regular?
it's just dried for it's parchment coffee, so it's
Mhm.
dried to drink. But still, I've got it if I can get a price worked out with them. But I think he's wanting like $4.50 a pound for it, and
But also,
that's in parchment though. So you're going to
yeah.
buy 300 pounds of coffee at $4.20, something like that, and then you're going to lose 18% of it just by tree gaining it,
Yeah.
and then another 5% by hand selecting it, and then you got to pay to ship it to the States,
It's worth a
and
try.
then you got to ship it to your customer. So yeah, you're going to be at $6, something like that.
Is it
By the
worth
time you get to the States, it'll be worth it because
Yeah.
it'll be a great addition, and then eventually we'll get to plant. So,
in another coffee? We have yellow bourbon here, but
mhm.
how many years ago? Like 5 years ago or something? Remember you met that guy who had pink bourbon
Yeah,
and
an
orange
orange
bourbon.
bourbon. Yeah.
Man, that'd be so cool.
We were at a cupping, and when I asked him about plants, he's like, "Oh yeah, I only live about 8 hours from you over in Salvador," and so I got all excited. But then when it came to it, he was not selling me any plants. He wouldn't sell me seeds either.
Hmm. Yeah, we should do that.
They're pretty strict because we had to smuggle in the Robusta we got from El Salvador about plants. If we could get some seeds, if you could give me some kind of contact information, yeah, I'll definitely call the guy, and I'll pay really good for seeds.
Always interested in new coffee.
I offered him $100 a pound for his orange bourbon, and he wouldn't sell it to me.
I mean,
And the reasoning is he doesn't want the
nobody else has
competition.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody else has it.
And so the less there is in the world, the higher the price. So yeah, he doesn't know that because a pound of it, it's a little bit smaller bean. A pound of it might be over 900 seeds. And we have here, if we process the seeds, we have like a 95% germination rate. We have an awesome germination rate here on the farm of the seeds that we grow and we process. And so, if half those, then we got sprout, and we got 500 plants.
Yeah,
But
that'd be awesome.
about 25% of the plants we cull. When they're seedlings that we don't like the roots, we toss a big majority of them.
I probably wouldn't do that with this though. It's rare.
No, it would, because you got a 4-year investment before you can ever cup it.
True.
And so it's worth hauling though. Anything that doesn't look perfect, then we're not going to spend the time, because it's going to cost me $28 to $32 to grow a plant of coffee to 4 years old. So you think we've got 90,000 plants out here.
Wow, it must have been in business for a while.
10 years on this farm, 15 on the other, almost 15 on the other.
Actually, in July, it's 11 here and 16 on the other.
Yeah, July will be. I bought the other farm in, I think, about March of something like that, of 2010.
You know what else is happening?
And then I bought this one. No, nothing comes to mind. Birthday. I bought the first farm somewhere around March or April of 2010. Then I bought this farm in March of 2014, and we moved here in July 2014. And
Yeah,
because when you moved here, we were just barely doing anything. I had about 40 guys working in the farm, and I had half a dozen guys building the house.
Yeah, lived in another house for what?
Yeah,
a couple months.
Yeah, for like 3 months, and then that's it. Well, guys, I promise to try to do better next time. And if you guys email me,
unless you enjoy this, then
yeah. And next week, if you guys could be on, let's all get on screen and let's see if we can. I'll do another podcast date right now. You guys will send me a couple of days that work best for y'all, and times. Just send me like 2 or 3 random times for everybody that's watching, and then I'll pick a date that covers as many people's time as possible, and then we'll do a podcast where you guys can come on and we'll talk something roasting and how what I do helps or hurts what you guys do in roasting. And so any time is pretty good for me. I can I can always step away from the mill. Well, Eli's been running the mill. He's been running the small mill all season.
Then we'd only have like half the people we're watching right now.
Yeah.
So I'm not here.
Yeah. But yeah, within the next 5 days, let's put together another podcast. So for the next 7 days, you give me your 7-day calendar, what days work best for you. And even tomorrow or the next day. And we're going to put together at least 1 or 2 podcasts where you guys will come on screen. And then I'll send you guys the link and y'all can send them out to your customers and people like that. There's a Blue Collar Boys podcast that I think I'm going to be on theirs and they're going to be on mine.
And what is that?
I'm not 100% sure yet, but there's some kids I got tagged on a post, and I was their unofficial coffee. I'm like, well, I can take care of that. They bought a bag of my coffee and liked it so much they put it on their podcast. So I said, well, I can take care of that. So I'm going to send them a couple of bags of coffee, a few cups, and we're going to become the official one of their website, and so of their podcast. And if you guys know anybody that's in the coffee business starting a podcast, I'd love to be on a podcast. I'd love to have any coffee people that want to be on my podcast be on my podcast. And Jose from Third Day is I'm getting with him tomorrow, and he's gonna help me streamline my podcast quite a bit because we got kicked off Facebook because it wouldn't log on, and we're having trouble getting on Instagram. So I just need some help getting that part figured out, and then we'll go from there. And then we'll set up the table again. Start doing a little more official podcast without not being on the cell phone.
Yeah.
But thanks, guys, for being customers. Thanks for watching the podcast. Like us, share us, all that stuff. Share us with any of your coffee guys, and we'll
follow us on Instagram on Legs Farms Coffee 2010, YouTube Legs Farms Coffee 200, Facebook just Legs Farms Coffee. Please like, share, and subscribe.
Thanks, guys. Y'all have a fantastic evening.